Paladins are probably one, if not the most popular class in Baldur's Gate 3, and you can get away with just 12 levels of pure Paladin with a very successful character. But in this video, I want to do something a little bit different. And when I originally sat down to do this video, I had all these different concepts and ideas for Paladins, and I really got lost in the sauce. And it kind of led me to believe that you can really approach Paladin in so many different ways, and really it could warrant multiple different build videos. So if you want to see a build video here where I go into a pure offensive Paladin or stuff like that, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. But today I'm going to focus on blending Paladin and Cleric to make a frontline kind of defensive support character. You won't be dealing the most damage in the world. You will be doing good damage, but what you will be doing is holding the line, healing other players, allowing your defensive characteristics to really spread across the map for you to help you out in really kind of being that bastion of faith. Well, maybe you have your barbarian come in and club something to death, or your warlock destroy something from afar with an eldritch blast. Whatever it is, this character is meant to kind of be that ultimate frontline support tank and less so much of an outright destroyer of worlds. So if this is your first time on my channel, the way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge in my videos so you can decide if it's the right one for you. So with that being said, we'll be taking 7 levels into Paladin with the Oath of Ancients to add some healing and a great aura. And then 5 levels into Cleric in the Life Domain. This will further supplement our healing to make it so that it will be very strong. This will allow you to dish out a good amount of damage as a Paladin and have a lot of layered healing, which we'll go through after we break down the build. That's really the entire gist of this video. It's really a simple build because I realized I just didn't have an easy to approach Paladin on the channel. If that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to shut the video down and get back to making your Holy Knight. Before you head out, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. All of those things help me out in a huge way. I currently have something like 89% unsubscribed viewership on the channel, and that's a metric I am trying to change here by the end of the year, so every little bit helps. You can jump ahead to any part of the video that interests you the most using the chapters with the timeline in the description. And if you need help with any other subject in Baldur's Gate 3, check out my playlist linked below and at the end of the video. Let's get started here on this ultimate Paladin build in Baldur's Gate 3. And as always, it starts in character creation. So this is a single player narrative game. Do not min-max this choice. Choose a race that makes sense for you and your character and the way you're playing. Don't just listen to some guy on the internet, me. You spend a lot of money on your game, so enjoy your escapism however you want. With that being said, here's some just kind of standout picks that I really enjoy. Human's really good just because you're going to get an increase to your carry capacity, which I'm always a huge fan of. I love Drow. They're one of my favorite races in all of Dungeons and Dragons, so I really like these guys. They do also get an advantage on saving throws against charm, and magic can't put you to sleep, which is really cool. In addition to that too, they will get a cantrip which allows them to cast a darkness. Nice ability to kind of blind things around them. It's always actually pretty good. Halflings are pretty good for their ability to use lucky. When you roll a 1 with an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can reroll the die and must use the new roll. Half elves in general are always a nice choice here. You can choose a high elf for another cantrip, wood elf for increased movement, or a drow again for just being a drow. Same thing here with elves if you wish. Dwarf really thrives here as well. All the proficiencies don't matter because starting as a paladin, you're going to get simple and martial as well as light, medium, heavy, and shield. So all proficiencies from everyone aren't going to help you out. But you get an advantage on saving throws against poison and resistance to poison, which is a very prevalent damage, especially as it comes to traps. And the gold dwarf really leans into the tanky direction of this character, giving you 1 more hit point and increasing by 1 every time you gain a level. This allows you to really kind of cascade with some good amount of health. Shield dwarfs here, not as amazing because it's just proficiency. Dwegar, though, are actually a really cool pick because they get shrink and enlarge as a cantrip, I think at level 3 or 5, maybe it's 7. It's one of those 3. And it allows you to enlarge your character and do more damage in melee, which is actually a pretty cool thing. I think, honestly, the 2 Underdark races of Dwegar and Drow are 2 of my favorite picks for Paladins because I think it's very... not anti-hero, but it's just against the typical cut of these 2 races, and I kind of like that. Tieflings are always very strong too, with both Asmodeus and Mephistopheles tieflings, because they have access to some very fun cantrips as they level up. But what I will say is, I think Mephistopheles gets Darkness and Tendrils, and Asmodeus gets 2 other ones. Go with whichever one you want, but the Zariel Tiefling, what I will say, if you want to choose Zariel Tiefling, just do it. But the 2 cantrips that they get, Branding Smite and Searing Smite, you just get as a paladin by default. So you don't get any additional benefit of having them as cantrips, the fact that they are cantrips, which is nice, so that you don't have to waste any spell slots to cast them. But my problem with both of those smites is that they require an action and a bonus action. So it is a lot of investment in an ability that will cost you all of your action economy in a turn. So if you want to do it from a narrative standpoint, please by all means go ahead and do it. I want you to be aware of that. A really strong option though for any melee character is always going to be a half orc, because they get savage attacks. When you land a critical hit with a melee weapon attack, you deal an extra dice of weapon damage, and relentless endurance. If you reach 0 hit points, you regain 1 hit point instead of being downed. It's a really cool combo for this type of build here, because we are going to be very kind of. So I'm going to go ahead and just choose dwarf, because I think if I were to make this character from scratch, I don't typically play dwarfs because they're dwarfs, but it comes from my Warhammer obsession with high elves. But I think it's a really good one for this class. And we'll be getting access to Lay on Hands, which is 4 healing. This is basically 2x your paladin level, or the amount of healing that you get here. And then we have Divine Sense. Gain advantage on attack rolls against celestials, fiends, and undead, which is actually very good, as the latter 2 you will be experiencing a lot throughout this game. Fiends especially in Act 3, and undead quite a bit in Act 2. For our subclass, we'll be going with Oath of the Ancients for this build. But like I said, if you want to see some other kind of really fun, different variations I have in mind for Paladin, let me know in the comments below. I have a pretty cool Oath of Vengeance build I have in mind that I want to couple with some other things, mainly Sentinel, Polearm Master. But Oath of Ancients has access to Healing Radiance. Now, Healing Radiance will work off of 3 things. And basically, this is going to come down to your proficiency bonus, your paladin level, and your charisma modifier. So our charisma modifier is 3, our paladin level is 1, that brings us up to 4, and our proficiency bonus right here is 2. So this makes it so that we're doing 6 healing. This proficiency bonus will go from 2 to 3 to eventually 4 by the end of the game, naturally, and our paladin level will be 7 at the end. So at max level, well, at least max paladin level, we'll be doing 11 healing alone, plus an additional bit of charisma. Now, we're going to be able to supplement some more healing across the board, so don't worry about that. And the nice thing, too, about this is this heals you, and then you regain another 6 hit points next turn. So it's a really big heal that can really kind of ripple across the early portions of the game, and it will still come into clutch in the later portions. And also, too, it's a bonus action, so I like that quite a bit. For your background, please, this is a single-player narrative game. Choose whatever background makes sense for you and your character. Are you a reformed criminal that has found their way into the Paladin orders as a form of kind of penance for their own crimes in the past? Are you a former charlatan who cheated people over and you realize, you know what, I should lead a better life? Are you an acolyte who has taken up with a monastic order and joined into the Paladin orders? Whatever it is, please choose the background that makes sense for you, your character, and have that color the decisions you make throughout this game. There are so many ways to play it, and it really allows you to have a lot of enrichment. Now, if you just want a min-max option, Guild Artisan is my go-to because it gives us skill proficiency in both Insight and Persuasion. Both of these are skill checks that you will make throughout the game, and they're very important ones most of the time, so it helps you kind of get access to more content if you didn't think you would be able to. And for our skill proficiencies, I'll just remove all these. We have access to Athletics, Religion, Medicine, and Intimidation. Now, if you were to say choose a Drow, you would get Perception here. Or I think half orcs get Intimidation. So some of these will be colored based off of your racial decision. Athletics is good for the ability to push things and resist being pushed, or I'm sorry, shove things and resist getting shoved. Religion is actually a pretty cool one because you will actually have some religion checks that will help you out, especially at the like 3/4 point of Act 2 when you deal with a specific god's temple, and a couple other places in Act 3 that'll help out with the religion checks. Medicine, I would actually eschew for the most part, unless you wanted to do it from any kind of narrative standpoint, because it only really helps you if you tend on using the alchemy minigame. If you don't, then just skip it. I would probably do this. So that I have my persuasion, my intimidation, and religion checks all kind of covered for myself. This gives me some kind of flexibility. We already have max charisma, so, well, in this scenario. So this helps us already with deception or performance if we ever needed to make those rolls, but this helps out with intimidation and persuasion. Let's now talk about our ability point. Now, your abilities are a little jammed up because we are going into Cleric. I have our wisdom only at 12. This is going to give us a +1 to wisdom checks. This will also help out with our amount of spells that we can prepare as a cleric. Your cleric prepared spell amount is your cleric level plus your wisdom modifier. So, for example, here you can see that we will be just +1. So if we were a level 1 cleric, we would have 2 slots, right? Because +1 from wisdom, 1 from cleric. For charisma, we have that set to 16. Now this is where the lion's share of our buffs come from, our healing comes from. All of our paladin type of effects really come from being high in charisma. And we're going to go with just simply 10 dexterity because we are going to be using heavy armor. We don't really need much more than that, but we don't want to suffer a penalty. 14 constitution, it is a little low. Ideally, you'd probably want this a little bit higher, but we have plenty of ways to increase this at the end of the game, trust me. But Constitution is going to help us out with concentration rolls, which we will be making lots of. Concentration rolls are a Constitution check. And then lastly, we have Strength. Now, I've set Strength to 15 on purpose here because the first feat I'm going to choose for this character is going to push it to 16. Now, if you did not want to choose that feat once we get to that discussion, you can get the Hag's Hair in Act 1 by doing that quest. And that will give you 1 free ability point. You can put it here in strength, and that'll even it out to 16. I almost never recommend anymore. I used to recommend it, but I almost never recommend odd numbers here because you don't get any benefit from an odd number. Take a look. See, strength is still +2, still +2, unless you have a clear-cut way that you're going to improve that up to an even number. Every 2 even numbers after 10 is +1 to any of these check modifiers. So we're going to go with 15 right now, and we'll talk about how we're going to improve that. But let's now get into some progression for this character. The level progression for this character is pretty fun. And my guy's looking snazzy. So our first levels are pretty much just going to be into Paladin. Basically, just to break this down up front, we're going to put 5 levels into Paladin. We're going to put our levels into Cleric, and then we're going to finish off Paladin. And at level 2, we get access to Divine Smite. So Smite is a very integral part of being a Paladin, right? And this does not scale off of our charisma, which is actually kind of nice. So if you wanted, you could kind of have a lower charisma Paladin if you so wish. But this is going to scale off of the spell slots you use. So it does 2d8 radiant damage. It deals an additional 1 to 8 radiant damage to fiends and undead. Now, if I were to use an additional spell slot, or a high level spell slot, level 2 rather than level 1, it's going to add 1d8. And the native base damage of Smite will increase as you level. I think it's like around level 5 or so. On my other screen, I have information up that will help me with this statement. Improved Divine Smite. Oh, that's all the way at level 11. Okay, so never mind. I thought that happened way earlier. But basically, Divine Smite, as you level up, will scale if you go harder in the paint on Paladin. And we get our fighting style. So you have a lot of different ways you can approach this. Please take this guide as a, guide, not as a creed. So if you want, go with great weapon fighting. If you really want to go with the two-handed Paladin, there's plenty of awesome weapons you can use. But what we're going to go with is protection. Because I don't think many people use this, and I don't think many people showcase it, but I think it's a very fun way to play. When you have a shield, impose disadvantage on an attack against your allies when you are within 5 feet. You must be able to see the attacker. Now, if you want to still go with sword and shield, but you don't want to use this, then you would simply go with dueling. This is very confusing text, but let me just say that anytime you are using a weapon with a shield or just one weapon in one hand, an example, this would be a rapier, you will get this additional 2 damage with that weapon. So if you were to use a longsword and a shield, even though a longsword is versatile, it still counts as a dueling weapon because you are not using versatile weapon as a two-handed weapon. When you are wielding a melee weapon that is not two-handed or versatile in one hand and no weapon in the other, you deal an additional 2 damage with that weapon. So longswords still count. I know that's confusing, but it still does work. And we have to choose our spells. So just kind of keep in mind here, there are a lot of spells, Searing Smite, we talked about this here, Tiefling, that have concentration on them, right? And we've kind of talked very loosely about concentration, but basically, caster needs to focus on maintaining the spell. They can only cast one concentration spell at a time, and their concentration might be broken when they take damage. You would do that Constitution check to see if it is broken or not. That's the thing that kind of sucks about Paladin. All your smites, for the exception of Thunderous right here, are for the most part concentration. Wrathful Smite, concentration. Searing Smite, concentration. But I'm still going to take all three of them. I like them a lot. Just keep in mind, though, you just can't stack Bless on top of it. And to be totally honest as well, I probably wouldn't take Bless with this character because I'm up close and personal, and I'm buffing 2 other characters with Bless. And if I lose it, those other characters, they kind of suffer that not penalty, but they don't suffer the benefit that I once had. So I'd probably actually not take Bless on this character. But stuff like Protection from Evil and Good is very good. Protect an ally against the attacks and powers of aberrations, celestials, elementals, fey, fiends, and undead. Those last 3 you'll be dealing with quite a bit. They can't be charmed, frightened, or possessed. And when these creatures attack, they have disadvantage on that character. The nice thing is this lasts until long rest. So it stays online for a good amount of time. It just requires your concentration. So we're going to take that. Shield of Faith can be nice here. It just is a flat 2 increase to your armor class, but again, it's a concentration ability, so I'm not going to go with it. And another concentration ability, unfortunately, here is Heroism, but it's a very good one. Make yourself or a target immune to Frighten and gain 5 temp hit points each turn for 10 turns. You can only have temp hit points, though, from one source. So this will fall off in its usefulness as we get access to more temp hit points items throughout the game. And we'll probably put in something like Cure Wounds because we can have a lot of fun with that. So we'll take this as is, and we'll just keep leveling up our Paladin here. Get our level 3, where we get this, Divine Health, the Divine Magic flowing through you, prevents disease from affecting you. And now we get our really cool Channel Oath abilities as a Ancient's Paladin. Now, Nature's Wrath restrains an enemy. They cannot move. Attack rolls against them have advantage, and their attack rolls and dex saves have disadvantage. And then we get Turn the Faithless, so turn nearby Fae and Fiends. Both really great. And Ensnaring Strike is really cool here. Just keep in mind it is a concentration ability, of course. Why wouldn't it be? But it is a pretty good one. And Speak with Animals is cool because it is a ritual. So that means you can cast it without using the spell slot. This is a Larian game. Speak with Animals is infinitely useful. If you played Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, you know what I'm talking about. But definitely have a lot of fun with that. And we get another spell slot, so I'm gonna put Cure Wounds in. Divine Favor is not my favorite because it is a concentration ability and it just is not really that awesome for me. In case you were wondering why I didn't talk about it. And Command as well. We don't have a high enough Wisdom score to take advantage of Command. I'd rather use it on a pure Wisdom Cleric character. We get another spell slot here. We'll just go with whatever. Maybe just Compelled Duel. But now we can talk about our feats. The featsy weetsies, toesy woesies. Let's have some fun with this bad boy. You have a lot of options for feats. Ability improvement is always a staple. You can just drop 2 points into charisma or 2 more points into wisdom if you want to do more damage with your cleric spells. Choose whatever you want that makes sense for you. Athlete's okay. Getting up from prone is really nice and your jump distance increases. But this is what is called a half feat, meaning that it has one half of the feat that does one thing and the other half of the feat that gives you an ability score bonus. This case being either strength or dex, but it's always a nice one. If you want to go with the dual wielding paladin, you can go with this. If you want to go with that great weapon paladin, definitely go with this. It's a really, really good one. Mage Slayer is very strong here because this allows you to basically add another layer of magical defense into your character. When a creature casts a spell within melee range of you, you have advantage on any saving throw against it, which is already great, but now you can use a reaction to immediately make an attack against that caster. Enemies you hit have disadvantage on concentration saving throws, meaning that if they are holding any kind of defensive spell online, or maybe they're cast to darkness and that's affecting your whole party, this allows you to kind of help get that offline a little bit easier. Lucky is very good here as well. You gain 3 luck points, which you can use to gain advantage on attack rolls, ability checks, or saving throws, or to make an enemy reroll their attack roll. So if you have a big hit that's coming your way, you can make them reroll their attack hit, or maybe reroll your save if you failed at whatever it is. Take a big breath there. Resilient is nice. Just do Resilient Constitution, because you get 1 more Constitution, which is nice, but you now get proficiency in Constitution saving throws, which concentration saving throws are. So this will cascade, meaning at this point it's only a +2, but then it becomes a +3, but then it becomes a +4 by the end of the game. This is actually very, very nice if you want to keep your concentration abilities online. Savage Attacker is really going to make you do a lot more damage in melee. When making melee weapon attacks, you roll your damage twice and use the higher result. Shield Master is great here because this is going to add an additional layer to your shield. You get 2 bonus to dex saving throws. You use a reaction to your shield yourself and diminish the effects of any kind of spell that's cast on you. On a failed saving throw, you take only half damage. So you can either completely mitigate spell cast or have the damage, which is cool. Outside of that, Warcaster's not bad. You gain advantage on saving throws to maintain concentration, and you can use Shocking Grasp reaction, but our reactions are kind of already jammed up, and I'd rather not use something minuscule like Shocking Grasp, which falls off very quickly. If you do want to go the two-handed route, Polearm Master is very good in conjunction with Sentinel, but I'm going to save that conversation for another video that focuses on this on the main point of its character, of the character. But you use these two in conjunction to do a ton of opportunity attacks, so it is still a really, really good one. Mobile's nice for just being able to be, well, mobile. The one I'm going to focus on, though, is Heavy Armor Master. Incoming damage from non-magical attacks also decreases by 3 while you're wearing heavy armor, and we get +1 strength. So that's how our strength comes up to 16 on this character. There are plenty of items in the game that are going to superficially increase your strength as long as you've got them. There's one in Moonrise Towers, it sets your strength, I think, 18, and there's another one in Act 3 that will set your strength to 18 as well. But this is a great way to just get that natural 16. I was going to take this anyway. We do only get 2 feats. So our second feat, we have to decide how we're going to split this, right? I wanted a strong defensive character, so we went with Heavy Armor Master, but I still might take Savage Attacker to really still give me some strong melee capabilities to have a little bit more punch. But that's how I'm going to make this character, and this completes our feats. Let's keep moving through this. Into level 5, we're going to pick up some fun things that really give us a good power bump. For one, we have extra attack. So now whenever we do an attack action, we get another attack out of that singular action. So we get a lot more action economy. And this is a huge power spike for your character. Around level 5, the game really takes off no matter what character you're playing. And we get access to level 2 spell slots. So now our Smites can be a lot stronger. This is all very good. And we get level 2 spells, and we get level 2 Oath spells. Moonbeam is a very strong spell. It is a concentration ability, but it's really good. It does a good amount of damage. You can move the little Moonbeam around, and it will continue to do damage with whatever it hits. The great ability. And we get Misty Step, which is a really nice ability because it's a bonus action, and it gives us a very far-reaching distance that we can just simply teleport to. You can find Misty Step on so many items in the game, but it's nice to just kind of have it as a spell that's always prepared for you. Now for our prepare spells that are level 2, I'm going to drop that, and I'm going to put in Magic Weapon. I like Magic Weapon until we get our Cleric spells online. It just simply gives you +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls. It is a concentration ability, though, so keep that in mind. If you do just want to use more defensive things, you can get protection from poison, which, you know what, I'd probably take out Compelled Duel and put this in, because it's just nice. Lasts until long rest. Free poison protection, right? You can get Lesser Restoration online if you want. Aid is a nice one. And you also get Branding Smite. Remember I talked about with the Tiefling? We're at level 5 Paladin, and now we have both of the cantrips of the Tiefling, just so that you know they do exist here already for you. Branding Smite is nice if you are playing against a lot of things that you know you're going to be dealing with that are going to go invisible. There are things in Act 1 like that, and in Act 2, I will say. You could swap off something like Heroism for that if you so wish, because probably by this time you have a lot of sources of temp hit points, but go with whatever makes sense for you. We've jumped into level 6. You can proceed with Paladin and just complete it and get it to level 7 if you want. But around this point, you're coming into Act 2. And I think this is when I want the extra utility from our multi-class online. Level 6 Paladin does give us access to Aura of Protection, but we'll go back to that when we switch back to it. So we're going to move over into Cleric. This is going to give us access to some cantrips and some fun stuff. So for cantrips, we're going to choose Blade Ward. Take only half the damage from bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing, which is great. Guidance, if you don't already have a caster that has guidance, then take it. If you do, then just use that character. And Sacred Flame is nice because it's just a nice range capability that's kind of in tow with your character. It does do wisdom as your spellcasting ability, so don't expect it to actually connect a lot. You can simply go with another buff, though, if you want with Thaumaturgy. Gain advantage on intimidation and performance checks. You would use this if you want to, right before you jump into a conversation, but it's nice nonetheless. You can go with resistance too, but it's a concentration ability, and you know how stacked we are for those damn things. For our subclass, we're going with the Life Domain, which will grant us now Cure Wounds and Bless. So we'll be swapping those off if we already have them on as a Paladin. We'll be taking them off because we get these innately as a Cleric. And the subclass feature of Disciple of Life. This is crucial. It's why we're kind of going into the Life Domain Cleric and not the Light Domain Cleric, which I think a lot of people would think we're going to go with. Your devotion empowers your healing spells. When casting a healing spell, the target regains additional hit points equal to 2 plus the spell's level. So if I cast a level 4 Cure Wounds, then I get whatever that Cure Wounds is, plus an additional 6 hit points. So this allows us to cascade that, and we're going to get even better with it. And that's the second time or fourth time I said cascade. Can't decide today. Choose whatever deity that makes sense for you and the character you have in mind. I'll go Helm. That seems fun. And then for prepare spells, do not do something like Guiding Bolt, because again, it's going to go off of your wisdom, and your wisdom's not that high to begin with. I'd probably go with Sanctuary, which is a very good ability that you're going to get a lot of use with throughout the game. And you can pick up maybe one of these that you drop from your Paladin if you so wish. The nice thing about being a Cleric is we can just kind of swap our spells off, on and off. Create or Destroy why did I say it with like an accent? Create or Destroy Water is really good if you have a spellcaster with you that casts ice or lightning damage. You can use this to cast pools of water around. So this gives you a little bit of utility across your party. Do things that make sense for you and the party you have in mind, not just what I'm saying. Because remember, it's not just you who's making this character, or I'm sorry, it's not just this single character in your party. You've got 3 other ones. So have some fun with it. We're going to spice some more levels here into Cleric. More spells. Whoopsies. I'll put Create Water. Go to level 3. That's going to give us access to level 3 spell slots because we're a Cleric and we are a Paladin, so that helps out with everything. But our Life Domain spells give us Lesser Restoration, which is cool, and Aid. Heal your allies and increase their hit points max by 5 hit points. Well, just a nice little ability to have online all the time. And for our level 2 spells, don't look at things like Hold Person, because again, it's going to look at your wisdom score, but you can rely on stuff like Warding Bond to help out, or Protection from Poison, which we just talked about a little bit ago. Enhance ability is really strong if you don't have another character that's got it. Silence is great because you're not relying on that spell, that difficulty check, that's just silence. Summoning up a spiritual weapon is, again, going to be just good. Another great one here is Prayer of Healing, just because you already give a bonus to healing, right? And this is an ability that allows you to basically get an extra mini short rest without all the benefits of a short rest. You just get the heal, more or less, of a short rest, but not really. I mean, not that much health. But it's nice just to kind of have as like a, all right, we're out of combat. Let me heal the whole party really quick. A lot of things you can do with that. And we're going to jump here into level 4 Cleric. For the feat, I could go with Shield Master, but I'm just going to go with Savage Attacker, give us a little bit more punch. You can even go with something like Ritual Caster to add a little bit more layers here if you want to help out with the buffing of the party. You could go with something like Long Shredder to help out with that. But I'm going to just go with Savage Attacker. And our cantrips, I'll put in Thaumaturgy. Why not? Prepared Spell, Ritual Weapon. And we're going to get, did I get everything from here? Last level here into Cleric. And this is the reason we're taking that last level. It's because it unlocks level 3 spells, and it is a huge thing for us. So for one, we'll get free Revivify, so that'll be online, so we can always revive a companion for us whenever we want. And we get Beacon of Hope. Your allies will regain the max hit points possible when healed. They also gain advantage on Wisdom saving throws and Death saving throws. So the cool thing about this is, A, it's a concentration ability. So that's not a cool thing. It's a sucky thing. But it's a nice thing that you just can give max heals to people, and it's a really, really nice way to give those heals out. Now for prepared spells, let's dodge some BS and add in some fun ones. Glyph of Warding is very strong. It is an offensive capability. It will use your wisdom score, but you can still have fun with it. You can use the abilities that push people around and actually displace them. It's very, very fun. I love the Glyph of Warding. But the biggest one, and probably the most important one, and the one that will probably take up all your concentration, is Spirit Guardians. We can use this capability to give us a constant aura of damage around this character. So even though they're holding the line, they can constantly do either radiant or necrotic damage. And if they resist it, they still take half that amount of damage. So if I'm going to go do 24, they save against my pitiful wisdom, it'll still do 12. And that's just free damage right there. And you know what? We're going to drop Prayer of Healing for Mass Healing Word. I really like Healing Word because it's a bonus action. And this allows us to get even more healing out. So we're going to finish that. We're going to jump back into Paladin. So now we have the Aura of Protection. And the Aura of Protection is going to give an increase bonus to saving throws based off of your Charisma score. So modifier. So right now this is +3. This is going to be a +3. And we get level 4 spell slots now unlocked. So the level 4 spell slots can be used for Smites or empowering our Spirit Guardians. I was like, what's the spell I just spoke about? And just, again, choose whatever makes sense for your character and your spells. We're going to get one last level, and it's the most important level in Paladin, and it gets us this. Aura of Warding. You and nearby allies take only half the damage from spells. The aura disappears if you fall unconscious. And we get 10 great spells. And we're going to drop, so I forgot, we'll drop those two. And I'm just going to put these two in. Because remember, now we've got Cure Wounds and Bless online by default with our character. So we have tons of abilities online. Let's see how they all kind of come together. Well, let's put everything together and kind of have a conversation about this, because there's tons of layers to this character. Let's go ahead and press just any one of these abilities. I don't know what that is on console, whatever brings up your reactions, because ignore Shield Blow and Tenacity. But the big thing here is Divine Smite. So we can make it so that this will ask us if we'd like to use our Divine Smite in certain situations, right? Like, hey, did you just go ahead and use a hit? Well, let's go ahead and have that ask me now. Okay, well now this will ask for confirmation upon a trigger. And it will say, we will use your level 4 spell slot to use this Smite. Maybe you don't want to go that hard in the paint on it though. You just want to press this one and press ask and ask. Basically clicking this little checkbox will make it so that, yeah, okay, I will automatically do this. With this checkbox clicked, I will ask you if you'd like me to do this automatically. So it's a nice one to just kind of have. You can kind of have these all on like that if you so wish, however you want to kind of set it up. There you go. You can kind of go through the situation. And this will allow our Divine Smite to go off based off of the situation that unfolds, right? If we just do a normal hit, oh, well, there goes your Divine Smite. Or did you want to do your critical hit? No, there you go. There's your Divine Smite. We want to have those things online and active. We also have protection here. So we want, this will always be on, but we still want it to tell us nonetheless, so we can decide. Since you can only use, I can do this. Reaction, replenishable resource reactions, such as opportunity attacks, are responses you can have to events. Reactions can trigger both during and outside of your turn, but they only can happen once per turn. So just keep that in mind. So you just want to make sure you're kind of managing those a bit. Now, on top of that too, we have our auras. And auras, I think if I click Paladin, that'll give me the Paladin. Kind of. We have both of them, and I'm going to turn both of them on right now. So Aura of Protection. And then Glyph of War, or Aura of Warding. Now you'll see that they'll just be here. They're permanent, they're always on. I need to be within 10 feet of another one of my allies for these to have an effect. So I can't just assume that they're going to work just because I turn them on. I got to make sure I'm around the other combatants so that they get advantage from it. So just keep that in mind. And we also have, though, our Lay on Hands. So Lay on Hands is going to do 28 healing. It's not going to get the benefit from our life domain perk, right? So we click it and we've got 3 different types of Lay on Hands. We can do a Lay on Hand Greater Healing, which will take 2 of our 4 Lay on Hand charges. And it basically takes our healing and it doubles it. So 14 would be a lesser, 28 would be a greater. Or we can do Cure, imbue your hands with the divine power to cure all diseases and poisons affecting a creature. It's a single target creature. This would also use 2 Lay on Hand charges versus just your standard lesser healing as well. Now we also have our Channel Oath. And this is part of the layered healing we were talking about, right? So I can use this, and I can do a AoE heal around me. Go ahead and just cast it real quick. That's going to do 14, and then wait for this to click down. So just did 14 health, right? And there you go, it does it again. So this would basically do 28 total healing, and it would do it immediately and then again at the beginning of my turn if I were in combat. And it's nice to just kind of have that capability online, because this will just help me get a little bit of extra healing onto my team. And the nice thing is that it's a bonus action, so I can have this go off pretty easily and still do damage in that turn. And these channel O's recharge on a short rest, as opposed to our lay on hands, which are a long rest. Lastly, though, we have our channel divinity. This is part of our cleric capability. And it's, guess what? It's another heal. So preserve life. Evoke a healing energy that restores your allies. This is an action, but it's a 30-foot range. We go ahead and cast that. Boom. 36 right there, right? See that? Just that standard 36 shows us like, oh, okay, 3 times. It's 3x, or it's 12. It's 3 times 12. Jesus Christ. It takes your total character level into consideration here. So it's taking 3 times your character level, not your cleric level, not your paladin level. It's 3x your character level. And then outside of that, we have all of our just kind of, let's go ahead, standard edition capabilities that we would have as a cleric or a paladin, which brings us to our spell book. So as a paladin, unlike a lot of other classes, we can swap our spells out at will. Same thing with our cleric. So this allows us a lot of functionality to kind of pick and choose what we want to have in certain situations and certain scenarios. So if you maybe did a fight and you're like, man, that really sucked. That did not go well. You can use this ability to kind of jump in here and go, well, you know what? Maybe we don't need this branding smite. Let's go ahead and pick up Shield of Faith instead. Whatever the situation is, it allows you to kind of custom build out what you're doing, which I really, really like about this situation. Whereas a lot of other classes are, hey, you can only do that whenever you level up. So I just wanted to kind of talk about these things, especially to like healing word here, or healing, cure wounds, healing word. What the hell is that? Cure wounds. Let's just go ahead and cast this on myself. Let's use a level 4 spell. This is going to do 5 to 33, right? And so that did 6 plus 23. Now if we take a look, there it is. Cure wounds, we got that 23 for just casting the spell, then the plus 6 as a means of our life domain characteristic, which is 2 plus that spell cast level, right? So this just shows you that we can add in a lot of healing into this ability, into this class to really help out across the board. Oh, where's another healing word, or one is healing word? This one is. So just to show off more healing here, 12 plus that 6, this plus that 6 all the time. So just to show you, you just get a lot of additional supplemental healing, which is really nice. And that's what allows us to be a very cool support class and sprinkle all these things together. Let's now go into some equipment conversation. So to open up this conversation, we're going to talk about weapons first. And there are so many to choose from. The one that you can get in Act 1 that's probably going to last you the majority of the game, might even be the one that you just stick with, is the Blood of Lathander. And I don't have it, unfortunately, but here it is on the screen. Once per long rest, when your hit points are reduced to 0, you regain 2 to 12 hit points. Allies within 9 meters also regain 1 to 6 hit points. It's not a huge healing, but it keeps you online permanently pretty much with this build. Also, Lathander's Light sheds holy light in a 6-meter radius. In combat, fiends and undead standing in the light are blinded unless they succeed a Constitution saving throw. That's a huge bonus. And like I said, you will be dealing with lots of fiends and undead. By the time you get this, when you jump into because you get this at the end of Act 1, when you jump into Act 2, this thing is going to come online and really, 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 really help you out. Also, you get a level 6 evocation spell of Sunbeam, and it's +3 enchantment on this. It's just a really good mace that's going to last you a ton of time. I strongly recommend it. As far as the other weapons go, I have a pretty cool one on called the Sacred Star. You just buy this in Act 3. On a hit, inflict 1 turn of Radiant Orb upon the target. Radiant Orb can couple with a ton of additional items, and I'll show you. I think I'm wearing one of them. But affected entity has -1 to attack rolls for each remaining turn. It also sheds bright light in an area surrounding it. So you can couple this with a ton of items that will add Radiant Orb or do more with Radiant Orbs active. You can have a lot of fun with this. Sanctified Weapon, so undead creatures struck by this weapon are possibly turned, which is cool. They'll run away. Weapon enchantment +2. I like all of like Morning Stars, for example, or certain other bludgeoning weapons because they've got tenacity. When you miss an attack, you deal 3 bludgeoning damage anyway. So it's just, you always do damage, which I kind of like. But you also get Dawn Burst Strike, which is once every short rest, but deal additional radiant damage equal to your proficiency bonus. On hit, light erupts around you in a 10-foot area. Enemies in light must succeed a DC 13 con saving throw or be blinded. It's just more blinding. And you also get Heartstopper, which causes chest trauma. They lose an action, or Concussive Smash, which is dazes a target, can't take reactions, lose a dexterity bonus in their armor class. It's a really, really good, just solid weapon you'll get here in Act. Outside of that, an Act 1 weapon here would be Faithbreaker, which you'll get in the Goblin Camp. It's just a really good Warhammer. I'm showing off things that are one-handed and versatile, so you can still use them here with your mace, but please, by all means, use two-handed weapons if you so wish. This one's really good because it has this, it was all in, no absolute power, which does radiant damage and piercing damage and force damage. It's really damn strong, and it pushes something back 17. It's a really good ability. It's just a solid little hammer you'll get early in the game. A lot of these are all from Act 3. Falar Eluve, which you'll also get in the Underdark, is a really good one here because it's going to give you Lacerate, which is cool, Rush Attack, which is lovely, Pommel Strike, which is a cool bonus action. But mainly we want Falar Eluve Melody, which gives you either Sing, which basically does a 20-foot range 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and charisma, wisdom, and intelligence saving throws, or Shriek, where they have a penalty on those same saving throws, and they take 1 to 4 thunder damage whenever they get hit. Enemies, that is. So it's a really nice little capability. It's a really cool little weapon that you'll get early in the game, and it'll last you for quite a bit. In Act 3, you can get the Hammer of the Just. Slay the Wicked. This weapon deals an additional 1 to 6 bludgeoning damage against fiends and undead. It natively does a 1d4 additional radiant damage, and it gives you Detect Thoughts. It's just a nice little cool hammer that you can get very easily in Act 3. The Blackguard's Sword. I don't think it's Blackguard, it's Blackguard. On a hit infused with one of your smites, the target must succeed a Constitution saving throw or become dazed. We talked about that. That's disadvantage on wisdom saving throws, can't take reactions, and loses a dexterity bonus on their armor class. Since you'll be doing smites, this is a really good one to use. It's one of the few weapons that actually keys off of your smites, so it's a very nice one. But outside of that too, you can even just use something like the legendary trident that you get to give a little bit of spice in this direction. You can throw it if you want, and it comes right back to you for thunder damage. It gives you some really cool abilities that you can charge and do a bunch of thunder damage, or you can do a big, huge gust of wind and do thunder damage. It's a really, really, really cool trident. You get very, 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 very early in Act 3. It's like the first 10 minutes. Belm, which you'll get by doing Jahiro's questline, gives you Perfectly Balanced, which is basically just another swing with your offhand. And you use this once per turn. So this is always active. It's just a bonus action. So basically you attack with your main hand and you get the extra attack, then you use Belm's Perfectly Balanced Strike to just do another bit of damage with your bonus action. And then lastly, we have the Handmaiden's Mace, which will set your strength to 18. It's a great way to just get that additional strength, doing some additional damage. You're not going to be doing a ton of damage, but these are all really great supplemental weapons that allow you to do more than just simply hitting things with them. They give you a little bit more bang for your buck. But those are your weapons here for your Paladin. As far as your other gear goes, I like something simple like the Shield Devotion because you get 1 level 1 spell slot. I just look at that as another bit of currency that I can use for smites. It does give me Shield of Devotion Aid and Shield Bash, which is great, but an early Act 1 shield would be Adamantine Shield that you can make through the Grimforge. It's really strong and it's going to last you quite a bit of time. Attackers can't land crit strikes on the wearers, which is always great. You'll eventually get something like Kethric's Shield, which is good, plus 1 bonus to spell save and spell attack rolls, advantage on dex saving throws. The Shield of Shielding is really cool here too because it gives you Shield, a level 1 abjuration spell, as a reaction. Armor class increased by 5 and you take no damage from magic missile. Always really cool to have. And then lastly, we have Viconia's Walking Fortress, which is probably the best shield, but I don't like it because I don't get any spell slots from it. I just kind of like the Shield of Devotion. It fits the character for me. Spellguard is nice because it helps you kind of resist spells. Reflective Shell and Warding Bond are 2 really nice defensive capabilities. And Rebuke the Mighty is cool because when you get hit, you basically can do a 2 to 8 force damage, knock something prone, and just have a lot of value out of that. Also, it gives us the most armor class of any shield in the game. As I quickly check, but I'm pretty sure no shield gives +3. So this allows us to kind of be that veritable walking tank. As far as our jewelry goes, we have Amulet of the Harpers is another advantage on wisdom saving throws, but it gives a shield. One that I don't have actually on this save is the Amulet of Greater Health. And that is probably the best in slot, because that's going to set our constitution through the roof, which is going to help with all of our many concentration rolls. I definitely recommend that if you can get it. You'll get that in the Act 3 House of Hope. Two other ones though, Amulet of Restoration. This just gives us Healing Word and Mass Healing Word that you can cast without having to deal with a spell slot. And then Amulet of the Devout, you gain +2 bonus to spell save DC. You get an additional use of Channel Divinity. So this is just another heal that you can have online. It's a nice to have. I definitely think that the Amulet of Greater Health is better than both of these though. As far as our rings go, Amulet of Regeneration is nice for just some raw hit points. Killer Sweetheart is an auto crit hit, which I love. I like Ring of Free Action. Ignore the effects of difficult terrain and cannot be paralyzed or restrained. So you're really not just being held down. Crusher's Ring is a very good early ring, which increases your movement speed. And the Whispering Promise is another really good early ring. When you heal a creature, it gains 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws. So you basically bless them for 2 turns. What I think you can really get from this character is the ability to completely push Cleric out of the party if you want. You can have this character be your Paladin and Cleric, and then your other characters can all be damage oriented. That's why I like this character a lot. You can make the argument, of course, about healing and how healing is not the best in D&D, and I get it, but most of us are not min-max D&D players. Most of us play these games like typical RPGs where we think we need a healer, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can basically fit both into one here with this class, and you can use all the supplemental things that give bonuses whenever you heal. So you have a lot of fun with stuff like that. As far as our helmets go, I think Helm of Baldur is the one that fits this character the most. Your helmet heals you for 2 hit points at the beginning of every turn. You have +1 bonus to armor class and saving throws. You're immune to stun. You can't be crit hit. It's that tanky kind of helmet. It's very Paladin looking. I love it. Very early helmet though is Helmet of Smiting. When you apply a condition with one of your smite spells, you gain temp hit points equal to your charisma modifier. Very good in the very early portion of the game, and that would remove any other temp hit points that we get. Flawed Helldusk Helmet is when you'll get midpoint, which is very good. Wielder has +2 bonus to saving throws against spells. One helmet that I did not actually put in my inventory here is this helmet. Wapira's Crown. You'll get this endish of Act 1. When healing another, the wearer gains 1 to 6 hit points. So if you want to really focus on healing, this is a great way to get a little bit more value because it also heals you, which is really, really cool. For our cloak, I've got the Mantle of the Holy Warrior, because this just gives us Crusader's Mantle, radiate a holy power that emboldens the nearby allies. Their weapon attacks deal an additional 1 to 4 radiant damage. Keep in mind, it's a concentration ability, so I wouldn't use this over, say, Spirit Guardians, but it's still one that you can take a lot of advantage of and use and get some pretty good value out of. Even something simple like Cloak of Protection for armor class and saving throw is just fine. You can go with Vivacious Cloaks. You gain 8 temp hit points after casting a spell while in melee, so you have that capability. You can use the Cloaks of Elemental Absorption or Cloak of the Weave, which allows you to get plenty of Elemental Absorption online. The best armor, though, is easily the Armor of Persistence. All incoming damage is reduced by 2. You gain Resistance and Blade Ward. They're always active rather than you having to cast them. So you take half damage from all melee and half damage from all magical spells. The Helldusk armor is a good one, but you can just simply buy this. You cast Friend on Daemon in Act 3. This is very, very, very affordable. And you got it. You're good to go. It's got 20 raw AC. It's just very, very good. Some other good standout ones, though, are the Adamantine Splint Mail. This is the Scale Mail, which is medium, but the Splint Mail is heavy. You'll make that at the end of Act 1, and it's really good. It's all incoming damage is reduced by 2, and things are sent reeling for 3 turns, and attackers can't land crit hits on the wearer. So you wear that for a good chunk of the game, pretty much until you get Armor Persistence. Unless you want to use something like Rippling Force Mail, you gain Force Conduit when taking any of the melee damage types, which basically allows you to do force damage out once you reach a certain amount of stacks. And then Reaper's Embrace, which you would get from Ketheric at the end of Act 2, which is very, very good. Doesn't really fit the character as much, but it's still a really solid suit of heavy armor. As far as our gloves go, you can go with anything that you want. I like Reviving Hands. When you heal a creature, it gains the effect of Blade Ward. So if I use my many, many heals, including my big, huge big huge AoE heal. Nope. My big huge, where is it? I am dumb. There we go. Big huge AoE heal. They get Blade Ward, which is great, right? So they take half damage from bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. When you revive a creature, it gains the effect of Death Ward. So you get a lot of value out of being a really cool healer with these gloves. But early gloves are really nice. When you use your Channel Oath spells, you gain Heroism. So this really leans into being that Paladin character. You'll get both these helmets and these gloves in the beginning portions of Act 1. It allows you to turn online pretty quickly. For your boots, you can go something simple like Boots of Speed or the Disintegrating Night Stalkers, which give you Misty Step, and you can't be enwebbed, entangled, and snared. But the Boots of Persistence, which match the armor, gain freedom of movement and long strider. You are literally not going to be stopped at all. It's just such a good combination of everything. But this is your gear, everything all put together. Let's now see how this performs in combat. All right, so we're going to jump into some combat here and show some things off. But usually I do this where I have that character queued up. Instead, I'm just going to go ahead and press attack with my character right in the center of all of the mayhem here. And hopefully we'll be able to show some stuff off. So I've already put Warding Bond onto my main character and to Karlach. And Warding Bond, of course, we're like switch over to my well, it doesn't matter. We'll get to it in a second once I get to my character. But either way, I'm going to skip all my character's turns so that it gets to me. Warding Bond is going to allow us to kind of separate some of that damage. And it's going to increase the resistances that we've got so that we're a little bit more stalwart, right? As far as like me being able to be that kind of support character here. And what you can see here, too, is that we got health from my helmet, and my helmet ended up actually kind of like triggering some additional health from my already passive capabilities, which is great, right? I did not turn on Magic Weapon or anything like that because instead I'm going to focus on Spirit Guardians. And I'm going to put Spirit Guardians here at level 4. So it's going to go from 3 to 24 to 4 to 32 damage, and it's going to give me quite a bit of just additional auxiliary damage around me if I turn on. And that's my concentration. So we're already just doing some good layer damage in here. And that was unfortunately my action. But I still have a bonus action that I can do things with. I can do stuff like cast Sanctuary. We can do Mass Healing Word. I can do that Healing Radiance. All sorts of stuff. And I'm going to actually let this go through a whole nother set of turns here. But where is Warding Bond? Here we go. So Warded Ally, they gain resistance to all damage, right? And a +1 bonus to their armor class and saving throws. So since that's on right now, she has all these resistances active. And this helps to keep Karlach in the fight a little bit longer while I can kind of move around and get these Spirit Guardians going here. Because I do want to show off some Smites too. Let's go ahead and have any extra turns I can do here. We'll go ahead and let this go through. They're probably just going to jump over here to my casters. No big deal. And this again, though, I'll use shield just because whatever. But it's going to increase my armor class even further, so my character has just a disgusting amount. Athletics roll. How pitiful. I'm just taking all this damage and just tanking right through it here, right? Because we're Karlach and I are splitting it, which is even better. Little heal going off from them. Karlach's opportunity attack. I thought it was mine. I was like, cool. Damage there. And we're about to come back around to my turn as soon as we kind of push through these. And with this, you know, I'm letting some characters take some hits so that I can show off some of the healing capabilities I've got too here, right? And that's important, right? Because this character is not here to do the bulk of the damage. That's what Karlach is here for, or Will in my build is here for. I mean, even Shadowheart, who's spec'd into Light, she's more apt to do damage than my character, to be totally honest. Go ahead and do that and see if we can kill this guy. There we go. Oh, wombo combo there. Just getting all sorts of damage in. And we'll do that. And let this come back around to me. So coming back into my character, we still have all the Spirit Guardians damage going out, right? So that's a good thing to have going. That's going to give me that persistent little bits of damage. Sure, come back into it. Oh, of course it would cost me to stand back up. But that's okay. That's no big deal. and we can have some fun with a smite. Now, I can go ahead and press this. We can have it as a reaction. I'm going to press this just so I can kind of talk about it a little bit more. But we can really charge this up, right? It can just do 10 to 34 on a base, but then we can jam this bad boy up to 13 to 58. So I still have the capacity to do plenty of damage when it needs to be done. But of course, the consequence here is that I'm using my spell slots. And even just taking a look at my base level 1 spell slot, I'm still using 10 to 34 on this. It's quite a bit that I'm still getting access to. So even though we are using our upper level spell slots for other things, we still can get quite a lot of just simply a level 1. But I'm going to go ahead and I'll use this Divine Smite right here. Of course I don't have enough. Why would I? Oops, oops, oops. What? That is just hogswoggle. I'm just too far away. What a great video this is, right? But either way, we'll show this off, and then I'll cut it, and we'll come back to this, and I'll show me doing a Divine Smite. But we can still use our bonus action here, and we can get a little healing radiance going down to heal in an AoE around me, right? Because this is an action, this one here is that bonus action, and this is another action. But we can still use Preserve Life, you know, go ahead and do this and get a big AoE heal. And I just gave everyone Blade Ward, so now everyone's kind of stacked up. They can do plenty of stuff with all that, and that's quite fun. So let's go ahead and cut this and jump to a point when I can show off using that actual smite. But coming back into this, let's go ahead and now do one of the big bad smites. And we're dealing with all sorts of crazy stuff on this battlefield right now, right? So let's go ahead and just show off what a level 4 smite would probably look like. 70%. Yeah, we'll do like a guaranteed %1 here. Boom. So we still could do a ton of damage. What all of it was. We had 12, we had 62 radiant damage coming out of that smite alone. You can see that it's still just able to do quite a bit of damage here. Go ahead and just hit things and just kind of have a little more fun. But there's just so much damage that can come out of simply using Divine Smite. So while this character is super tanky, as you can see, my health is still stacked up at 95. I haven't taken any damage. It still has the ability to dish out considerable bits of damage, but again, you have to kind of consider that that damage is on a bit of a premium, right? You are using those spell slots. And I think that it's very common that a lot of people just really say, no, don't worry about healing. Don't touch healing. It's not worth it. Just worry about killing things faster because you're delaying the inevitable. And that's definitely a way you can play. I definitely encourage it. But, you know, when I think of a paladin, I think of a mainline tank type character that uses a shield and a main hand weapon and holds the line with some sort of healing capabilities, but also a lot of defensive capabilities. And this is what really struck me as that type of paladin. You can definitely go down the route of like a Vengeance Paladin with two-handed weapons and going all sorts of damage and blah, 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 blah. There's tons of ways to pull damage out of Paladin. But I think that our true defensive Paladin is what I kind of imagine or see in one. So I wanted to really create that one here for you guys today. So hopefully you have a better idea of how to really make this defensive frontline kind of character that can hold the line and help bolster everyone at the same time, but also dish out little bursts of damage whenever you really need it to happen. If you have any questions about this build or ways you might change it, by all means, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. There's a lot of different things ways you can approach this. We haven't even got into the complexities of stuff like lock-it-ins and so on and so forth. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.